to change the tool, the cutter diameter, the pilot diameter for a different size hole, first thing we do is take the nose piece off. It's a left-hand thread. We unscrew the nose piece. The next thing we do is remove the pull rod and the collet clamp. The way we do this is first of all with a 5/64 Allen wrench. You may want to get this out of the way. 5/64 Allen wrench. There's 2 set screws, one on each flat of the piston rod. You remove that guard. That guard is to protect you from getting stuck with the end of the pull rod. A 17mm wrench goes on the end of the piston rod, and a 1/2-inch wrench on the clamp stud. We break that loose, don't take it all the way out. What we have is a split tool steel tapered collet with serrations in the inside to grip on the pull rod, and when this nut is tightened against that, it clamps on the pull rod, and when the pull rod pulls, it increases the clamp force because of the direction of the taper. After we break that loose, but don't take it out, we break the collet loose inside of here by tapping on the front of the tool. Once we tap on there, we can pull the pull rod out. This pull rod goes the length of the tool through the rotor and everything, and that's what expands the collet clamp on the flare tube. Once we remove the pull rod, we take a 7/8 wrench and a 3/4 wrench. This is a right-hand thread on the cutter, and we unscrew the cutter. When we take the cutter out, be careful not to lose the spring-in bushing. There are 2 nuts, jam nuts, on this tube, and the position of those jam nuts determine your stack height. Here's your stack height. So if you're going through 5/8 material stack height, you want to set this for about 3/4, about an 1/8 inch longer than the stack height. And you do this by moving the nuts up and down and rejamming them. There's also a spring inside here. You want to make sure that the spring goes back in or it doesn't come out. Once you set up your next cutter with a different size pilot, different size collet clamp and flare tube, and you set it up for the correct stack height, you simply screw it back in. You really don't have to tighten this because it's a right-hand thread and it tightens automatically when you're running. Once you get that back in, cutter back in, you take your pull rod, make sure there's always a point on the end of the pull rod. When you purchase a new pull rod, it won't have a point, it's going to be a little bit longer, so once you get it set up, you'll snip the end off, but then always grind a point on there because it goes through the O-rings inside the tool easier. So we slide this in. You may have to rotate it a little bit, and once we get in, we come down to where the taper starts and then pull it back about a 32nd of an inch on this side of where that taper starts on the flare tube. Make sure that this slide is completely out and make sure that the piston rod is completely this way before you tighten. Oh, we forgot. This is what you can't do. You cannot forget this little bushing on the end that protects it from the spring. So we're going to take this back off. That's a good lesson here. I'm going to pull the pull rod back out. Make sure that this is on here because that spring rides on there, and it's very important. So we put this back in, slide the pull rod back in, down to the taper, pull it out a little bit, about a 32nd of an inch. Make sure that this slide is all the way out, the piston rod is all the way in. Then we tighten with a 17 millimeter and a 1/2 inch. We put our pull rod guard back on. The set screws go on the flats on the piston rod. 5/64 Allen wrench, 2 places. Put our hose back in. These are very nice push swivel fittings. At that point, we're ready to go, and we put our nose piece back on. Left-hand thread. Now we want to make sure that this pilot is between 3/32 and 1/8 of an inch out from this face. The way we do that adjustment is we loosen with a 3/16 Allen, and we slide the Atlas tool in or out. So we can see that by doing that we're adjusting. It's very close to being correct when it's all the way in, but you may want to readjust it just a little bit. 3/32 to 1/8 of an inch past the face of the nose piece. Tighten that back up. Now, this is very, very important. Never forget to turn this back to about 15. This is your feed, a hydraulic check. Turn it to about a number 15 before you test. If this is all the way on 0 and you forget to turn it back because you've been pulling this in to find out how deep your countersink's going to be, if you forget to put that back, it's going to pull in and grab and feed so fast it could break your wrist. So make sure that you turn that to 15 before you do your first test run. And that's how you change your tool.